My name is Shantae Moore, for those of you who don't know me. And in the many ways, you might be connected to me. I am an advocate for this nationwide movement, which is teaching professionals how to make the move from employee to entrepreneur. I truly believe there's never really been a better time to get into, being an entrepreneur. There's so many options to consider. There's so many decisions to make. There's so many risks that someone really needs to avoid. And today's presentation, as I shared when I was inviting folks, was that I wanted to introduce you to entrepreneurship and the world of entrepreneurship, and also I'll tell my story about how I became an entrepreneur as well. Because trust me, I did not want to be in business for myself at all. I never thought as a little girl that I would be an entrepreneur. I actually wanted to be a lawyer, or I think when I graduated eighth grade, I said I wanted to be like a psychiatrist or something. So for me, it was always just getting a good job. So I never thought that I would be, doing what I'm doing, let alone in business for myself, doing what I love. And so we believe, in our advocacy about helping folks get into entrepreneurship, you really need to have what we call your plan E, which is your entrepreneurship plan. Which we'll be going through tonight. So before we dive in, I want to go through a few warm-up questions, and feel free to put it in a chat. You can unmute yourself for those on Zoom. Or otherwise, just think about these things in your head, because I think it's so important when you're thinking about going into entrepreneurship. And this first question is super important and it's very personal. And I'm going to, be pretty personal with you all tonight too, because even though entrepreneurship is business, it's also very personal, because your business will reflect everything about who you are. And so when you look at this question, which three areas of your life do you want more freedom and control over? I really want you to start thinking like, okay, what am I doing this for? Like, why am I trying to open a business or, be an entrepreneur? Like, what's the point? What's the purpose here? Um, I know for me, just the number one thing that's already highlighted here was time. I wanted control over my time. Prior to, being in business for myself full time, I had a corporate job and I was a young mother. I've always actually been in the financial services industry, but I worked on the more corporate side of it. And I remember as a young mother, I always had to go to my boss and my manager, who were great. They were nice people, but I had to ask them for taking time off to spend with my kids. Oh my God, one of my daughters, I remember she broke her wrist in kindergarten on the playground during recess. And I had to go and ask, like, hey, I need to leave to go take care of my child. And I was given some pushback about it. And in the beginning of this corporate career, I was married, and then I started to go through a divorce. And I found myself being a single mom with three young children. And that time was when I needed more control over my time more than ever, because I didn't really have the luxury of depending on a lot of other people to help me out with my kids at that time. So, when you really think about what do you want more time, I'm sorry, freedom and control over, what is it for you? Is it you want to have more fun? You want more control of where you live? Maybe it's just like, I want to buy stuff that I want. Like, I don't want to have to worry about spending for things that I want. Just start thinking about that. Now, this question is more personal for me. What are your two whys? I always tell people, like, when you're in business, because it will get hard. It's not always sunshine and rainbows every day. You have to think about, what am I doing this for? Because when it gets hard and when you want to quit, you have to think about your two whys. Or it could even be, it doesn't even have to be two. We suggest a person or and a thing. You want this to be something so emotional, literally so emotional, that you start getting teary eyed when you think of it. And for me, it's my three children. You want to be able to think about, why am I in business? What am I doing this for? And get emotional. Like, if I sat here, I could drop some tears on you all, just thinking about looking in the faces of my three children and saying, what other way can I provide the lifestyle that I've created for them? than doing what I do. Like for me, I don't see really no other options that's better than my opportunity here. And every day when I look at my kids and they smile at me, and I'm like, okay, that's who I'm working hard for. That's who I need to make sure I, do some business for. And thinking about um, the example that I am to them, and your why, again, needs to be emotional. Like I said, you should be getting watery in the eyes when you really think about the passion and the driving force of what's going to keep you in business. Now, it could be a person, like I said, for me, that's my children. It could also be a thing. And for me, I also have a thing because I grew up very poor on the south side of Chicago. Uh, my mother and father were great people, but they didn't have any money. Their parents didn't have any money. So I didn't, my sister and I, we didn't even know that we were impoverished at the time. I mean, and I'm not saying like we were like struggling, like didn't have nothing to eat, but I lived in a one-bedroom apartment for a majority of my young adulthood. Not young adulthood, my young life, literally until I was like 20, 21. Because that was all my family could afford. And then my parents divorced, and then I saw my mom struggle trying to take care of my sister and I. And so when I think about how I grew up, the other thing that gets me very emotional is thinking about, again, I don't want my children to have any idea of what that's like. None whatsoever. And thank God they won't. They never will. And I'm pretty confident that future generations of my legacy never will either. And so again, when you think about, is it an accomplishment? Is it a pursuit? Is it a lifestyle? Is it a family? What are you like? For me, I was like, I want to create something to where my family moving forward, there will be no more poor anything. We're going to create wealth. We're going to start passing down wealth because it never happened in any generation prior. That for me is a big thing. That's something that I get super emotional about that keeps me going. And just think about like what makes you tick. There's something that pisses you off so bad, you're like, I'm going to change this. It's super important. You might not understand it, but it's super important in entrepreneurship. And in which of these two quotes hit you harder? The first is a powerful quote by Tony Gaskins. If you don't build your dreams, someone will hire you to help build theirs. Or do you prefer the famous words of wisdom by Eleanor Roosevelt? The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. If I had to, pick one or the other, or if you had to pick one or the other, which one is, more resonates for you? I know for me, I actually saw the Eleanor Roosevelt quote like 15 years ago, but it never really like touched me until like now. Because to be honest, people have to believe in themselves. They really have to start dreaming again. I think a lot of people we're like walking zombies. We don't even think about what could be. Like we just accepted our lives as is. So anyway, our entire mission here at EDE is we want to empower you to live on your terms and to help gain more freedom over your time and your money. So if you're getting into entrepreneurship, maybe you're already an entrepreneur, you really won't be truly fulfilled, I believe, until you do have like a successful entrepreneurship journey. And this is about being who you were meant to be, because only then will you build what you were meant to build, and have the impact on others that you should have an impact on. And really, it's about making a difference in the world. And that's what we need. Entrepreneurs are here to make change and make a difference in our world. So remember the average employment position. So if you're an employee, it's not designed for freedom. It's not, it's designed to pay you a defined amount of money for a defined job. And I hope that you hear, understand this. Entrepreneurs are not designed to be limited. Entrepreneurs thrive on flexibility. We need, that freedom to be creative and to dream. But freedom requires time and money. And entrepreneurship, in my opinion, is really the only way to gain this type of control over your time and your money. I work with a lot of folks who have great careers. They're high level executives. They make six figures, multiple six-figure incomes. But the one thing that they don't have is control of their time. They travel a lot, they work a lot, they barely spend any time with their families. Again, they make the great amount of money, but they have no control over their time. So when you punch the clock for someone else, some other entrepreneur is getting closer to their freedom. Um, and it's probably not you. So as an employee, if you're plan A, because let's think about like, okay, what are the options? Plan A is okay, well, I'll just get promoted in my job. Or plan B was I'll just find a new job. I'll find something better. And I think a lot of people are realizing now that they need a plan E. And this is what actually goes into the entrepreneur lifestyle, where you own your day, you're working when you want, you're collaborating with whomever you like. It's really your escape plan, for making a smooth transition from where you are to a business that you want. Your entrepreneur plan gives you an easier way because you really lower your risk and remove any obstacles that can come in the way. And most importantly, your plan E can put you in the helping hand of helping others, or working with others who can actually help guide you on your journey. I can't tell folks enough about how important it is to leverage other people who are successful and already doing what you want to do. There's always going to be failures along the road to building a business, but a solid plan is going to keep you moving forward, overcoming the hurdles. So you don't necessarily have to go back to employment, that's retreating back to getting a job. It's the difference between hitting a dead end or heading the mark. Having a clear, solid plan, it really does make a difference. And if you're going to make it, and at the end of the day, what are we trying to hit the mark on? We want freedom of time and our money. So let's just explore, like, what is this plan E? What is it all about? We're going to talk about the risk, the reality, the mindset, the answers, the people, the options, and then the E factor. Now, this slide I want to really talk about because I think it's super, super important. I meet so many people who want to go in business for themselves. And I don't know if they really consider, like, what does it really, 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 really take? So first of all, with the risk, any one of these risks, and I'll touch on each of them real quickly. If you have a setback on any one of these risks, it can completely knock you off track to even be getting started in business. So the goal is to calculate what risks are involved with the business that I choose. Is it high startup costs? And can you afford them? Is there a proven system, to follow? That's so important. Like, I'm not a believer in recreating the wheel. Like, is there a system I can follow? Like McDonald's. Everybody always wants to buy McDonald's because guess what? They have a system to every single thing that they do and operate. And it's proven. It's not somebody just talking a big thing and saying, oh, yeah, this could be successful. It's actually a proven system. This one was huge for me. Do you have to develop your own marketing material from scratch? Now, like I said, I never thought that I'd be in business for myself. So marketing is getting new customers, right? Or getting new clientele, however that is. Do you have to create that on your own, or do you have something already in place that you can just plug and play and use, that something's already been developed? As you know, technology is super important in any business today. I was listening to a YouTube podcast with John Hope Bryant. He owns the Hope Foundation. It's the largest Black founded and Black owned nonprofit. And what he said was, no business should not have any e-commerce aspect. Should not have any e-commerce aspect. It should all have some type of e-commerce aspect, meaning a website. Can I book you online? Can you sell your products and services? Can you offer them online or electronically? If do you have that technology? Do you need it? Is it already in place? Or do you have to create it on your own? Or can you share those costs with someone else? It can be costly, having that e-platform, can you share those costs with someone? What about running out of cash? This is super hard because can you get your cash flow positive before you run out of your capital? Sometimes, and most times, I would say 99% of entrepreneurs, we're self funding our dreams, right? We're self funding the business that we want to start. But do you have a business that will start turning back revenue for you right away? Um, Another big risk is having too few customers or having too many customers. Some people might not realize having too much business actually can be a problem, because you're not able to keep up. And then when people aren't satisfied, maybe you're delivering a subpar product or service, people are unsatisfied and they share their bad, experience. So are you prepared? What if you don't have enough customers? Like, how are you going to sustain yourself? How fast do you think you can increase your cash flow before burning through it? And have you considered the legal documents and contracts that you need to protect your business? So there's a lot of questions, but these are really the first questions you should really take when it comes to starting your business. Um, when we think about the reality, the most rewarding success will also be the most painful to earn. It's not easy. You go through these ups and downs when it comes to um, you know getting in business. They call it like the valleys and the peaks. But you really got to just go through it. Go through it. You're going to face a lot of struggles. There's no way around it. A lot of people, when they're an employee, they're used to just I wake up, I go to my job, I work my 9 to 5, and then I can go home, right, and then I'm free. That's a thing of the past, especially when you're getting started. You might have 16-hour days, even on weekends. Hobbies and entertainment, you might have to cut back on them because business will likely come first, even sometimes before family for a time. I remember when I first got into the financial services industry, but rather my own business. I used to meet with clients literally from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And at that time, because we didn't have Zoom, I was driving all around the city. So I remember just so many long days away from my kids and my family. And it was tough. It was really tough. So you really do need the positivity, to overcome some of those hurdles. I'm just skipping through a couple things here. Oops. All right, here we go. So when you have that mindset in place, and I don't think, if you're watching this or recording or on the webinar, I don't think mindset is probably an issue for you, but it's a big deal, because some people I don't believe they are meant to be entrepreneurs. They should just have a job. But, a lot of folks can overcome some of those barriers. So with your mindset in place, now you have to really start thinking about answers. For your business. Like, this is the prerequisite before you make any business move. And this is, to me, is really the core of your plan. You should really consider these, research them thoroughly. I can share, what I actually share a little bit about what I did, because I think this is kind of important to understand, like, what opportunities are out there for someone. And you really want to start with the industry. Um, and with intention, what industry do you choose? Consider the stability. Is your industry stable? Like, a perfect example right now is like the real estate industry. Very unstable. I know a lot of realtors, mortgage processors, um, investors, they're having a really tough time right now. And my mentor, I had a conversation with him earlier today. He was like, you should never build a business on interest rates. And as if you don't know, like right now in the real estate industry, everything is based off of real interest. And a couple of weeks ago, the Fed chairman said they're not decreasing interest rates. So, loans for homes are going to continue to be high. A lot of people might want to sell, but or refinance, but they can't because the rates haven't come back down. They can't really, people can't really get out of their homes because buyers, they don't want to get these loans with these high interest rates. So, um, you know, that's another thing. But industry really matters. Is it stable? What are the potential? What are the trends? What's the size of your industry? And actually, I'll share with you why I chose the financial industry. Let me So I chose the financial industry because it's the largest one in the world. I mean, I want to go where the money is. Because with the where the money is where the opportunity is. The financial industry is the largest. When you look at technology, retail, like how many people will get a side job, working at Target or Walmart or somewhere? Retail industry is really small. Real estate, I just talked about that. People think real estate is actually a huge industry, and I'm not here to knock it, because I know quite a few real estate professionals, but the real estate industry is not actually that small. So it's about the third of the size of the financial industry. But how many people do we know that have their realtors, their real estate license? And I was actually talking to a friend of mine she just started in the real estate industry about 2 years ago, and she was like, I can't get ahead. Like it's hard. I remember somebody told me in California there are more real estate agents than there are houses to sell. So think about that. More real estate agents that are licensed in the state of California than the amount of houses there are to sell. So I wanted to go into the financial industry. I worked in the financial industry, like I said, from the corporate side. But when I thought about having my own business, I was like, financial, huge, huge industry. When we think about going back to the presentation here, the next thing it says is, what's the size of the market? Who is your market? And not what is your market, but who? Who will be your client? Who will you serve? Every industry has their own demographics, their target consumers. Who are yours? So for me, well, again, let me go back to this slide. The reason why I chose the financial industry is because my market is bigger. The market is huge. I actually had a meeting with the mortgage guy. He does mortgage loans 2 weeks ago, actually 2 weeks ago, on 2 Mondays ago. And I asked him a question. I said, let me ask you a question. Line up 100 people on a wall. 100 people on the wall. How many people are ready to buy a home or ready to apply for a mortgage? And very quickly, he was like 22%. I was like, oh, okay. That's great. You know your numbers. So every 22 out of 100 people can probably start to transact something in this industry. He was like, yeah. And maybe another 50% of them are on their way. They just need a little help. I was like, okay, well, let me tell you, put up 100 people on the wall in the room. Guess how many people need financial help learning about money? Probably 99 of them. I'll dare to say all 100 of them, because I have not one person, and I have clients who are, very wealthy all the way to the other end of the spectrum. I don't care. I work with everybody. What's important to me is that they are serious. And I have not met now one person in my almost 20 years of experience who's had everything together when it came to their money. And I only say 99 because there is 1% of people, the ultra wealthy, who have financial advisors and professionals who can really help them. But 99 others need help. They need help getting out of debt. They need help saving for retirement. They need help putting their kids to school and paying for college. They need help getting life insurance in place. They need help learning how to invest in the stock market. They need help teaching their kids how to save money. It's a huge difference. It's a huge market. So I told him, I was like, you can take your 22 people. I want to take the 99. So for me, there's just more opportunity. The industry is just bigger. It's undisputable. You can't really argue with that. So let me get back to this presentation. What makes you different? What's your secret sauce, your secret formula? What product or service do you have? How much will it cost you versus others? Who will provide your business with materials, inventory, the services you need? What is your big solution that you're going to bring to the world? When I do financial literacy workshops for youth, really, I don't do like for little kids, but like teenagers, I tell them, you want to go in business for yourself, solve a big problem, and you'll become rich. What problem are we solving? And do you actually have the ability? What unique ability qualifies you to be the one to solve that problem? And again, why I chose the financial industry, why we're different, which I'll share about in a little bit, is because we focus on education. Like there's tons of financial investment companies and all these big firms, and you see their commercials and TVs everywhere. We're on TV too. Our books have been seen by over, I think they said over 272 million people, something crazy. Our education platform. That's what makes us different because while a lot of people need help with their finances, the typical financial industry only goes after that 1%, the ultra wealthy. Me, I want to help people like me in my neighborhood where I grew up, my family, Black and brown communities who don't get help. That's what makes us different. And then we have products and services and solutions because once people are educated from a financial perspective, then they know exactly what they need to do, to become better off financially. So, when now that you've kind of gone through some of those questions, now you got to start thinking about the people. Who are the people that are going to be that you're going to be in business with? After all, the people you pick are just as critical as the business you choose. Have you ever heard that this quote here by Jim Rohn? It says, "You are the average of the five people you spend the most time with." I learned this over 10 years ago when I got into this company that I'm with now. And my mentor, he would say, look at your five closest friends, family, whoever, the five people you're the closest with. Look at their salaries, look at their happiness level, look at their lifestyles. You're probably the average of those five. And I was like, ooh, okay, I need to change who I'm hanging around with. Your partners, your mentors, your collaborators will impact every way that you'll be measured by an entrepreneur and what your success will look like and what your income will look like. I don't want to be the average of everyone that I'm with. Like, because of the work that I do, I'm like the bottom of the totem pole. And I think I do pretty well for myself. But because I work with so many people who are so, so successful, to be a successful entrepreneur, you really have to think about, some hard decisions about who you're going to be spending your time with. So our number one core belief here at E to E is that, we lose when we try to go it alone. I know a lot of people who they want to be solo entrepreneurs, and I believe in that, but I believe in depending on other people, having the right people to help you. It also helps you to pay it forward. Like you can become a successful entrepreneur, but who else are you bringing up behind you? I think mentorship is essential. It's super essential. Like I said, I have a mentor. He has a mentor, and I work with his mentor. And every step when I'm feeling down or if I'm a little disappointed or if I just need a little encouragement, he's there to call me or text me and lift me up. I have quite a few mentors actually who I rely on who has the experience. They've already, paved the way and gone the way that I want to go. And it's nice when you have others around you who you can laugh with, who can support you, who you have a friendship with. From my office that I work in, we're all independent entrepreneurs, but we also all we're like really good friends because we do we do get along. We really share our time together so much. Like a lot of people when they go to entrepreneurship, they're alone, they're by themselves. I think that's pretty sad. I like being around people, that I can enjoy and get along with. So I want to just finish a. Oops, there we go. I just want to share a few minutes of like explaining like why I chose the company I work with because sometimes I don't know if people know these things about me or not, but our company that I work with is called WealthWave. It's the HowMoneyWorks Company, and I mentioned to you I've actually been with this company for this is my 10th year. And prior to joining this company and working with this company, I used to be in the financial services industry I think I was at four other investment companies before I was kind of hopping around before I landed here. And the number one reason why I love this platform and why I planted my flag here is because we really teach people how money works. Like we have classes, we have workshops, we have books, we have so many resources to help people become financially literate. And for me, that's super important because of how I grew up, because of knowing that nobody cared to talk to my mom and dad about how to take care of me and my sister. Um, coming from communities where people literally have no interest in helping you better yourself, I knew that I wanted someplace where I could help others and many, many others. And thank God, I've had this opportunity to do this. Those companies that I started with, literally almost 20 years ago, they didn't want me to talk to people like me. They only wanted me to uh, go after people who had $250,000 or more, $250,000 or more, and who they're called accredited investors. I'm like, I don't know these people. Like, I don't have that rich uncle in my family. Like, I'm this little brown skinned girl from the south side of the city with a little accent. Like, I don't know these people. And it was hard. It was hard being in that industry that was not built for people like me and my family. And so that's what we do. Then we also help employees transition to becoming entrepreneurs so they can become business leaders. And this is an article, actually, I'll blow it up a little bit. This talks about the financial industry. As big as it is, there's actually a time bomb happening right now. The country's advisors are retiring along with their baby boomer cohorts. I don't know if you can see that. So, in the financial industry, 40% of financial advisors are expected to retire in the next decade, and the replacement rate is not keeping up. So we actually need more people to get into the financial services industry. As great as it is, as big as it is, a lot of the advisors are older, I would even say older white men. Um, they're getting old and retiring. Not say that they're bad guys, but that's just the demographic still. We're still breaking barriers in our industry too. But we need more people because these advisors are retiring, but we still have all these people who need help, when it comes to their finances. So we really want folks to, join us in that. Financial illiteracy is the number one economic crisis in the world. It is one of the greatest threats to freedom globally. This affects over 5 billion people around the world. Last week, I was blessed enough to have the opportunity to have participated in Harvard, an executive education program at Harvard. And it was for Indigenous leaders all around the world, from New Zealand, Australia, Canada, the US. And I was having a conversation with a woman from New Zealand, and she was telling me she teaches financial literacy in New Zealand. And I'm so ignorant to other parts of the world. I was like, really? She was like, oh my God, yeah, people are struggling with debt and they need help with learning how money works. And so obviously we had a great conversation because she teaches financial literacy in New Zealand. This was a real statistic. This never really hit home for me. Like, I got it. I understood that people don't understand how money works around the world. But when I had that conversation with this woman from New Zealand, I was like, oh my God, like, people really do need help. Like, this is a worldwide issue. This isn't just a US type of issue. Financial literacy is timeless, ageless. Everyone needs it. Like I said, when you line up 100 people in the room, everyone needs help with their finances. And that's why we're so passionate about looking for people to work with us, because we need more financial educators. We go through a 7 money milestone process to help people learn about money, getting educated, understanding life insurance, an emergency fund, how to get out of debt, increasing their cash flow. To be honest, a lot of people just need more money coming into their household to reach their goals. So oftentimes I tell them, like, come work with me because you'll make the money that you need, the extra, $1,000 you need a month to save. You can do that with me. And some people just need the extra cash flow. And then we talk to people about building wealth. This is all about investing and protecting, protecting their wealth and protecting their assets. And one thing I tell folks is, when it comes to saving money, because let's think about the alternatives. Like, we're talking about freedom of time and freedom of money. How do we get there? Like, you need the money on the side to save, right? Like, if you want to have $1 million in a retirement account, I'm about to be 40. I'm turning 40 next week. It's like driving me crazy already. But if I wanted starting today to have $1 million by the time I turn 65, which means in 25 years, I would need to save over $1,000 a month. in an account that's earning 8% compounding interest. Like, who can do that? That's super hard to do. You know, we teach people and educate them on how important it is that they need to take responsibility for saving for their own retirement. You know, you can no longer depend on a pension at a job. Like, very few companies still offer pensions, and they're not even guaranteed. Like, at Harvard, it was funny because we did a case study on pensions for the state of Texas, but my professor kept talking about how he was doing a case study for Cook County, Illinois, where I live. I was like, I need to look at your case study, because he was telling us that Cook County pensions, you know, for city employees, teachers, it's like 40% underfunded. Something, it might even been higher than that. So anyway, we can't depend on these pensions anymore. Social Security. Oh my God, look at your Social Security statement. There's a little paragraph that says we only have enough money to pay these amounts through 2034. And you know, how do you think the government's going to figure out how to keep Social Security going? One, they'll probably increase taxes, or two, they'll push back the retirement age again. I remember when the retirement age used to be 62, then it was 65. Now it's 67 for you to start collecting your full retirement benefit. We have to start understanding it's our personal responsibility to have our own personal savings when it comes to wealth. And a lot of folks just don't have, you know, when we think about like, do they have the savings? Some people do. But how do they maximize it is another question. When we look at a market, remember I said, you know, we have a lot of people we can help. The average 55 to 64-year-old American has over $400,000 in retirement savings. So that's really good, because that's something that I can help a lot of people with. Like, it's more than just accumulating this money. Now it's transitioning to the latter end of their lives and making sure that money doesn't run out. And how do you avoid running out of money in retirement? You know, there's a couple things we could do, you know, and this is what the average person does. They tend to go and put their money in the stock market. This is what we mean by equity investment. And the nice thing about equity investments is that you can grow your money pretty substantially. And that's if the markets are doing well. But if the markets are not doing well, you could also lose your money. That's what we call that downside risk. So when we look at educating folks and say, you know what if we could grow your money, but eliminate the downside risk? You know, that's an opportunity to do that. We call it a reliable income strategy. So not only can you still get your upside growth, but then we can take off 5% for the rest of your life and you'll never run out of money. How many people need to hear that type of strategy? And then how do I get paid on that? Because, you know, I want to be real. I want to really share with you all, like, what's the real deal? So let's say I help someone, you know, like if I go back here, the average retirement, you know, savings is 400,000. Let's say if I helped a family and they had 275,000 and put it into this type of strategy where they lose nothing, they can grow their money, and they have guaranteed income for life. That's an amazing strategy. It's not for everybody, but a lot of people it makes a lot of sense for. Like, why would you want to be in your retirement years risking your money? You want to eliminate all risk possible. So if I even took 275,000 of that, our income in our industry, I would get paid over $10,000 in helping someone implement this RISE strategy. $10,000. Now, this is not an everyday paycheck at all. I mean, but there's plenty of folks who I've helped do this, not necessarily that amount all the time. It could be smaller amounts. I did one of these strategies for $1.7 million recently and made multiple, you know, thousands of dollars. But the only reason I'm not talking about this to brag, I just want to let's compare. So let's compare this to real estate. And again, I'm not downing it. I just want to let's be realistic. So what does it take to make $10,000 in the real estate industry? Like, for example, my sister, she wants to be an investor. So she has houses. She has 2 houses right now. And one of them she's renting out, but she still has a mortgage on it. So when we really think, the sexiness of getting to the real estate industry is, oh, well, you can have a home and somebody could rent it out and they pay your mortgage. Yeah, but you still have $100,000 debt behind your name. I did this. And then let's say, what do you actually cash flow after paying for maintenance and repairs and upkeep and taxes and all the stuff you need to maintain a home? And, obviously somebody can pay your mortgage, the renter. Hopefully they don't trash the place and ruin it and they're a good tenant and they stay with you. What, maybe you might make $25,000, maybe, like, maybe. Um, for me, I'm able to help educate people, save their money for them, have them lose nothing. They have secure income for the rest of their life. I made $10,000. It's a win-win situation. And I don't have to take on a whole lot of debt and deal with a bunch of headache of somebody stopping up their toilet. So maybe I'm just a little biased against real estate. I have no problem saying that because I don't want to work that hard. I love talking to people and helping them with strategies like this. And again, this is one option. What if I had did this once a month? That's a six-figure income, solid six-figure income, and this is just one of these a month. If that can, and that can happen very easy. And when we think about, okay, I made $10,000 off this one deal. How much is $10,000 to someone taking care of a family? When the average median salary is $57,500 for men and $47,000 for women. And I was actually 10 years ago when I was working in the corporate role, this was actually about my salary. Now I think I was a little over 50,000 at that time. But I remember I told you at that time I was going through a divorce. I was a mother of younger children, much younger children. My son, I think at the time was like 9 months when my ex-husband and I separated. And now I'm taking care of him full time. $10,000 to me at that time would have been huge. It would have been so huge for me while I was going through that transition. So I don't want to downplay the significance of what income can do to a household. When I talk to families, they're feeling this. Inflation. We call it like one of the secret. It's like the wind. You feel it, you don't see it. You feel it in your gas tank when you're trying to buy food. And this was from 2022. Inflation is high again. It's about 5% right now. Back then it was about 9 when this was first captured. But people are hurting. They have less money coming in. Everything else is increasing in prices, but their income is going down. And that's why we truly believe that entrepreneurship is something that everyone should consider. Now, is it for everybody? No. I mean, for me, I chose the financial industry for some very obvious reasons. But one thing that I learned from being in this industry for a while is you really do want to also have a digital business. Remember, I talked about having an e-commerce, really just a technified business. The pandemic showed us that very loud and clear. When you can't go and see people or meet with them, do you have a business where you can do business over Zoom or online or having some, technology where you can get paid in your sleep? Having a remote business. That's one thing I love about what I do. Like, I don't have to be at home or in an office. As long as I have a Wi-Fi connection, I can do business. I can be on a beach somewhere in Hawaii or at home or my office, as long as I have a good Wi-Fi connection, because literally all my videos, my websites, everything, Zoom. It's all over Zoom. When I help clients with their financial applications, they're all electronic. Like, I don't necessarily need to go and see someone to do business. Now, do I? Yeah, I like seeing people in person, but I don't have to. That's a big difference. I'm not driving around all around the city anymore like I used to. And matter of fact, most of the people that I work with are actually nowhere near Illinois and nowhere near it. Most of my clients are actually out of state. So our company has been featured on over 250 major TV shows since 2020. Fox, ABC, CBS, CNBC. Why is this important? Because you want some credibility behind your business. That's why people buy into franchises, right? Because people recognize McDonald's. McDonald's is the number one real estate company in the world. They're not in the business of selling burgers. They're in the business of real estate. You go into the smallest town in the middle of Alabama, you'll find a McDonald's. Um, we are super proud that we have resources that have some visibility. So even if you don't have a financial background, someone can work with us and actually have some credibility, instant credibility. We have websites. I have like 5 websites right now, and these are already made. So, like, remember I talked about earlier, is this some technology that you'll have to figure out and build out? No, I don't do none of that. I'm not like a website guru. I'm not. I plug and play into the marketing tools that are already available to me. We have videos, we have presentations, we have books. It's already done. So I don't have to figure none of this stuff out. This is our new financial ebook that we just came out with not too long ago, a couple months ago, back in February, actually. A new ebook. So I can just text this to somebody. I don't have to print it out and go give it to them. It's even easier for me to share and market my business because of the tools that are available. So when I'm sharing about what I do, I always tell folks like, look, I'm happy to stay connected. I would love to work with everybody, but maybe that's not an option for them right now. I don't know. But all I tell folks is like, look, we have so many opportunities. Take advantage of it. I encourage folks to, consider the financial industry as you embark on your entrepreneurship journey. One thing with our company is you don't have to do it full time. Matter of fact, if you have a job, we want you to keep your job. A lot of people just start out spare time, just kind of learning. I have some people who come with us and they just learn. They're like, you know what? I want to know how to handle my finances better. I want to learn how to teach my kids. And I love your platform. How can I learn? Great. Just start with the spare time. Get access to our platform. Then some people, they start like getting serious. They get some licenses because to make money, you have to have some licenses. We are in a very highly regulated industry. Like, as much as we love helping people, we do have to have licenses. And they're pretty easy to get. It's not like rocket science, but you can get licensed and start making some part-time income. And that's what I did. I was working my corporate job, and I was doing this on the evenings and weekends. And I started making more money. And I would say more. I would say I would start making about the same part time compared to my regular job. I was making like 50,000 in my corporate job, and I was doing pretty good catching up to that. And that's when I decided to say, you know what, full time, 100% control of my time, fired my boss, and just been going up from there, to where I could focus on my business and future part time. You know, our history is here to be made. The question is, what part of history are you making? Whether it's with our company, I'm glad I had the opportunity to share a little bit about the work that we do. But think about your entrepreneurship journey, your business, whatever your heart desires. How are you going to make history with it? All right. So that's all I have for this evening. It was a pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to share my story. And you all have a good night. Good night, everyone.